Zixathera slumped against the engineering bay wall, green blood pooling beneath her damaged limbs. The automated security turrets remained trained on her, waiting for Lisa's command to finish what the human had started. The Crimson Syndicate hired me, the assassin said through labored breathing. Standard contract, no questions asked. Lisa kept her plasma cutter steady as she approached. But someone gave them my name, someone who wanted me dead specifically. I don't know who. Zixathera's voice was weakening. Contracts come through intermediaries, anonymous payments. That's how it works. Lisa studied the alien's face, reading the truth in her alien features. Professional killers survived by maintaining distance from their employers. Zixathera genuinely didn't know who wanted Lisa dead. But you kept communication logs, Lisa pressed. Backup files. Insurance against your employers. The assassin's mandibles clicked in what might have been surprise. How did you know? Because I would do the same thing. Lisa's military training had taught her to plan for betrayal. Where are the files? Zixathera hesitated, then gestured weakly toward her equipment pack. Encrypted memory core, but it won't help you. The Syndicate covers their tracks too well. Lisa retrieved the device and connected it to her engineering scanner. Her fingers flew over the controls as she began breaking through the encryption. Years of working with complex systems had taught her to find patterns that others missed. The files revealed a chain of payments and communications that stretched back 6 months. Someone had been planning Lisa's death since shortly after she arrived on Kepler Station 7. But the trail ended at a coded account that could belong to anyone in the galaxy. There has to be more, Lisa muttered, diving deeper into the data. Nobody pays assassination fees without leaving traces. She found what she was looking for in Zixathera's personal notes. The assassin had conducted her own investigation into the target, just as Lisa had suspected. Professional killers gathered intelligence to improve their success rate. The files contained everything Zixathera had learned about Lisa's background. Military service records, employment history, personal relationships. But buried in the data was information about Kevin Martinez and his work on Titan IV. Lisa's husband had been investigating mining irregularities before his death, ore shipments that didn't match extraction reports, equipment purchases that made no sense for the operation's stated goals, financial transactions that suggested someone was stealing massive amounts of processed minerals. Kevin had compiled evidence of a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of colonial administration, but he had died before he could expose the truth. His death had been arranged to look like an industrial accident, just like Lisa's assassination was supposed to appear accidental. My husband found something, Lisa said, reading through Kevin's hidden files. Someone killed him to keep him quiet. Zixathera managed a bitter laugh. And then they realized he might have shared his findings with his wife. So they waited until you settled somewhere, then sent me to clean up loose ends. Lisa's blood ran cold as she understood the full scope of the conspiracy. They've been watching me for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. Probably watching your son, too, the assassin added cruelly, making sure he didn't know anything dangerous. Rage flooded through Lisa's mind like molten metal. These people had murdered her husband, stalked her family, and threatened her child. They had destroyed everything good in her life to protect their criminal profits. She raised the plasma cutter toward Zixathera's head. You tried to kill me. You put my son in danger. Yes, the assassin said simply. But if you kill me now, you'll never find them. I'm the only connection you have to the people who ordered this. Lisa's finger tightened on the trigger, but she didn't fire. Through her anger, she recognized the truth in Zix Thara's words. The assassin was more valuable alive than dead. I need names, Lisa said. Contact methods, everything you know about the Syndicate's operations. In exchange for what? Your life? Zix Thara considered the offer. Death was certain if she refused, but cooperation might lead to eventual freedom. Professional survival instincts won out, over pride. There's a meeting scheduled in 3 days, she said. Syndicate representatives will expect confirmation of your death. If I don't report success, they'll send someone else, Lisa thought quickly. Then you'll report success. Tell them I'm dead. They'll want proof. I'll provide proof. Lisa's mind was already working on the details. Medical records showing death, by accident. Security footage of the incident. Whatever they need to believe the job is finished. The plan would require careful preparation, but Lisa had learned to manipulate station systems during her hunt for Zix Thara. Creating false evidence would be challenging, but not impossible. What about witnesses? The assassin asked. Your son will know you're still alive. Danny and I will disappear. New identities, different station, complete fresh start. Lisa had military contacts who could arrange such things for the right price. But first, I need everything you know about my husband's killers. Over the next hour, Zix Thara provided detailed information about syndicate operations, meeting locations, communication protocols, key personnel. The organization was larger and more dangerous than Lisa had imagined, with connections throughout the colonial territories. But the assassin also revealed weaknesses, internal rivalries, security gaps, operational patterns that could be exploited, information that could bring down the entire conspiracy if used correctly. Why are you telling me this? Lisa asked as she recorded everything. Because you beat me. Zix Thara's voice carried grudging respect. 94 kills, perfect record, and then a human engineer destroys everything I built. You fight like something I've never encountered before. I fight like a mother, Lisa corrected. There's nothing more dangerous in the universe. The assassin nodded slowly. I understand that now. Your species may be weak individually, but you become monsters when protecting your young. Lisa finished recording the intelligence and began preparing for the next phase. She would fake her own death convincingly enough to fool the syndicate. Then she would use Zix Thara's information to hunt down Kevin's killers one by one. The meeting location, she said. I'll need exact coordinates. Zix Thara provided the information reluctantly. You're planning to go after them directly. That's suicide. Maybe. But they made one fatal mistake. Lisa's voice carried the cold promise of vengeance. They threatened my son. She left the assassin locked in the engineering bay under guard by the automated turrets. Station security would find Zix Thara eventually, but by then, Lisa would be gone. Her first stop was Amy Chen's apartment to collect Danny. Her son was waiting with questions she couldn't answer yet. Are we leaving? Danny asked, reading the decision. In her face. Yes. We're going somewhere safe. And then? Lisa knelt to hug her son, thinking of Kevin and all the people who had died to protect corporate profits. Then Mommy has some work to finish. Danny nodded with 8-year-old seriousness. The kind of work you used to do in the Army? Something like that. They left Kepler Station 7 that night on a cargo transport bound for the inner colonies. Lisa, had arranged new identities and a safe house where Danny would be protected. But she would not be staying there long. The Crimson Syndicate had created a monster when they decided to target a human mother. Lisa Martinez was no longer the quiet engineer trying to build a peaceful life. She had become something far more dangerous. A mother with nothing left to lose except her child. Zixthera watched their ship depart through the engineering bay's observation window. She had killed 94 targets without ever understanding what drove them to fight so desperately. Now she knew. Humans didn't just protect their offspring. They became living weapons when those they loved were threatened. No alien species in the galaxy fought with such absolute dedication to another being's survival. The assassin had learned this lesson too late to save her career, but perhaps not too late to save her life. When station security finally found her, she would have quite a story to tell about the day she tried to kill a human mother. In the depths of space, Lisa Martinez planned her war against the people who had destroyed her family. They had expected to eliminate a helpless widow and her child. Instead, they had awakened something that would hunt them across the galaxy until justice was served. The Syndicate's 94th victim was about to become their greatest nightmare. Lisa woke before dawn with her ribs screaming in pain. The molecular blade had cut deeper than she first realized, but medical attention would mean questions she couldn't answer. Instead, she applied military field dressings and swallowed pain, medication that would keep her functional. Danny stirred in his bed, mumbling something about breakfast. Lisa watched her son sleep and made the hardest decision of her life. She couldn't protect him if they stayed together. The assassin would return, and next time she might target Danny directly to get to his mother. She called Amy Chen, Danny's teacher and her only real friend on the station. Amy agreed to watch Danny for a few days, while Lisa dealt with a family emergency. The lie tasted bitter, but the truth would only put Amy in danger. "Mom, why can't I come with you?" Danny asked as she packed his school clothes. "Because I need you to be safe," Lisa replied, kneeling to hug him. "Amy will take good care of you. I'll be back soon." "Is this about Dad?" Danny's young face showed understanding beyond his years. "About what really happened to him?" Lisa's heart clenched. Her son was too smart for his own good. "Maybe, but I promise I'll come back to you." After dropping Danny at Amy's apartment, Lisa returned to her quarters and began planning. The assassin had military-grade equipment and professional training, but Lisa had something better. She had intimate knowledge of every system on Kepler Station 7 and the desperate motivation of a mother protecting her child. Her first priority was identifying the threat. Station security footage from the past week showed a tall Valorian inspector who had arrived 3 days before the first assassination attempt. The same figure appeared near every location where Lisa had been attacked. The alien was either the assassin or working with them. Lisa accessed the station's internal sensors through her maintenance credentials. The Valorians' quarters in Civilian Block 12 showed unusual energy signatures. Scans revealed advanced technology that no legitimate inspector would carry. Weapons, scanning equipment, and what looked like medical supplies for treating severe injuries. The assassin was wounded and vulnerable. This was Lisa's best chance to end the threat permanently. She spent the next 12 hours turning the station into a weapon. Her engineering access let her reroute power systems, seal emergency bulkheads, and modify environmental controls. Every corridor leading to the assassin's quarters became a potential trap. Lisa also sent coded messages to her old military contacts. If she didn't survive the next few hours, Evidence about Kevin's death and the assassination attempts would reach people who could protect Danny and expose the truth. As evening approached, she made her final preparations. Her tool bag now contained plasma cutters, welding torches, and improvised explosive devices made from maintenance supplies. She wore her old military armor, carefully hidden under civilian clothes. The hunt began at 2200 hours. Lisa entered the maintenance tunnels and began systematically sealing the assassins' escape routes. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut with the finality of coffin lids. Atmospheric processors shifted to emergency mode, filling certain corridors with harmless but disorienting gas. Power fluctuations plunged entire sections into darkness. Zix Thera felt the station changing around her. Systems that had worked perfectly for years suddenly became hostile. The lights in her quarters flickered and died. The ventilation system pumped in air that smelled wrong. Emergency announcements echoed through the walls, reporting malfunctions in every direction. The assassin realized that Lisa Martinez wasn't hiding from her anymore. The human was hunting. Zix Thara gathered her remaining weapons and prepared to leave her quarters. But when she tried to open the door, it refused to respond. The electronic locks had been reprogrammed to keep her trapped inside. She used her molecular blade to cut through the door mechanism, but the corridor beyond was pitch black. Emergency lighting had failed throughout this section. Her enhanced vision showed her the way, but she moved carefully through the unfamiliar darkness. Lisa watched from the maintenance control room as her prey moved through the maze she had created. Every step the assassin took was monitored by sensors that fed information directly to Lisa's displays. She could track the alien's movement in real time while remaining safely hidden. The first trap triggered when Zixathera reached the central junction. Blast doors slammed shut behind and ahead of her, trapping the assassin in a 20-meter section of corridor. Then the atmosphere began venting through hidden passages Lisa had opened in the walls. Zixathara's emergency breathing gear activated automatically, but she had limited air supplies. The human was forcing her to move quickly and make mistakes. The assassin blasted through the nearest blast door with her remaining micro-grenades and continued deeper into the station. Lisa smiled grimly as she tracked the alien's progress. Each explosion was using up irreplaceable resources. Soon, the assassin would be reduced to basic weapons and whatever equipment she could improvise. The second trap was more subtle. Lisa had rerouted a plasma conduit through the corridor where Zixathara was moving. When the assassin stepped on a hidden pressure plate, the conduit ruptured and filled the passage with superheated gas. Only the alien's quick reflexes saved her from being cooked alive. She dove into a side passage as plasma scorched the air where she had been standing. But the heat left her breathing apparatus damaged, and her remaining equipment partially melted. Zixthera began to understand what she was facing. Lisa Martinez wasn't just fighting for her life anymore. She was systematically dismantling a superior opponent using intelligence, preparation, and intimate knowledge of the battlefield. This was how humans had survived and thrived despite being physically weaker than most galactic species. The assassin pressed forward because retreat was no longer possible. Lisa had sealed every escape route and turned the station itself into a hunting ground. The only way out was through the human engineer who had already proven capable of inflicting serious damage. Lisa triggered the third trap when Zixathara entered Engineering Section 7. Industrial manipulator arms, normally used for moving. Heavy equipment came alive under her control. The massive mechanical limbs swung toward the assassin with crushing force. Zixthera dodged frantically as metal arms the size of tree trunks smashed into the walls around her. She managed to sever one arm with her molecular blade, but the others kept coming. The alien was forced to retreat into a maintenance shaft barely large enough for her body. Lisa followed her quarry through the station's mechanical arteries. She moved through passages designed for human-sized engineers, spaces where the larger assassins struggled to maneuver. Here, Lisa's smaller size became an advantage instead of a weakness. They played a deadly game of cat and mouse through the maintenance tunnels. Lisa used her knowledge of every pipe, conduit, and access panel to stay ahead of her pursuer. She set fires that forced Zixathara to change direction. She flooded passages with coolant that slowed the alien's movements. But the assassin was learning to adapt. Zixathara began predicting Lisa's tactics and finding ways around the traps. Her professional experience told her that every hunter could become the hunted if they made mistakes. The final confrontation came in the central engineering bay. Lisa emerged from a ventilation shaft to find Zixathara waiting for her. The assassin looked terrible, burned and battered by the gauntlet of traps, but her remaining weapons were still deadly. "Clever little human," Zixathara hissed. "You fight like a coward, hiding behind machines and tricks." "I fight like a mother," Lisa replied, raising her plasma cutter. "And mothers don't fight fair." The assassin attacked with desperate fury, knowing this was her last chance, but Lisa had been preparing for this moment all night. She triggered one final trap that brought the station's own defenses to bear. Automated security turrets, normally used to repel boarders, swiveled to target the armed intruder in engineering. Laser beams crisscrossed the bay as the station's computer identified Zixathara as a hostile threat. The assassin found herself fighting both Lisa and the station itself. Zixathara managed to destroy 2 turrets with her remaining grenades, but more weapons emerged from hidden panels. Lisa had convinced the station's security system that a full invasion was underway. Every defensive measure available was now focused on eliminating the alien intruder. The assassin realized she had been completely outmaneuvered. Lisa Martinez had turned their duel into a siege where only one outcome was possible. Wounded, exhausted, and facing impossible odds, Zixathara made her final desperate gambit. She pulled out a device Lisa didn't recognize and activated it with her remaining functional arm. "If I die here, this station dies with me," the assassin threatened. "Fusion bomb, human. Big enough to crack this station in half." Lisa looked at the device and smiled. "That's not a bomb. That's a medical scanner with a broken display." Zixathara looked down at the device in confusion, then back at Lisa's confident face. The human engineer had identified her bluff instantly. "You've been carrying medical equipment to treat your injuries," Lisa continued. "But you're too proud to admit you don't have any weapons left." The assassin's shoulders sagged in defeat. She had been beaten by an opponent who understood both technology and psychology better than she did. The maintenance corridor stretched ahead in dim shadows, perfect for an ambush. Zixathara positioned herself in an alcove where damaged equipment created deep pockets of darkness. Her 4 arms held weapons designed for quick, silent kills. The molecular blade would slice through human flesh like it was water. Lisa's shift would end in 20 minutes. She would walk through this corridor just as she had for the past week. But today, she would not reach the other side alive. Zixathara reviewed her plan one final time. Strike fast. Target the neck for instant death. Arrange the body to suggest a robbery. The corridor's security cameras had convenient blind spots that she had already mapped. No evidence would connect her to the crime. Footsteps echoed from the far end of the corridor. Lisa Martinez approached right on schedule. The human woman walked with her usual quick pace, eager to collect her son from school. She carried her tool bag in one hand and a small light in the other. The assassin tensed her muscles, ready to spring. Lisa entered the killing zone exactly where Zixathara had predicted. The human was only 3 meters away, completely unaware of the death waiting in the shadows. Zixathara launched herself forward with deadly precision. Her molecular blade swept toward Lisa's neck in an arc designed to sever the spinal cord instantly. Victory was certain, but Lisa wasn't there anymore. The human had dropped to the deck at the last possible moment. Zixathara's blade whistled through. Empty air as Lisa rolled sideways and came up in a combat crouch. Her tool bag swung upward, connecting with the assassin's lower arms and sending weapons scattering across the floor. The Velthari assassin staggered backward, shocked by the human's impossible reaction speed. Lisa should have been dead, not launching a counterattack with professional efficiency. Lisa's right hand emerged from her tool bag holding a plasma cutter. The industrial tool hummed to life, its focused beam capable of slicing through heavy metals. She held it like a weapon, her stance suggesting extensive combat training. "I know you've been following me," Lisa said, her voice deadly calm. "I know. You sabotaged the atmospheric processor. I know you poisoned my food. What I don't know is why." Zixathara circled slowly, looking for an opening. Her remaining weapons included a neural disruptor and a micro-grenade, but both required careful aim. The human tracked her movements with predatory focus. "You're good," the assassin admitted. "Better than expected, but you're still just human." Lisa's response was to attack. She lunged forward with the plasma cutter, forcing Zixathara to dodge frantically. The beam seared the air where the assassin's head had been moments before. Lisa followed up with a vicious kick that caught Zixathara in the thorax. The Velthari gasped as chitin cracked under the impact. Human legs were supposedly weak compared to most species, but Lisa's military boots delivered crushing force. She pressed her advantage, slashing with the plasma cutter in patterns designed to herd her opponent into a corner. Zixathara managed to draw her neural disruptor and fire a stunning blast. Lisa twisted aside, but the energy beam grazed her shoulder. She stumbled and nearly fell, giving the assassin time to recover her molecular blade. Now, both combatants faced each other with deadly weapons. Zixathara had reach and speed advantages, but Lisa fought with the desperate fury of someone protecting their child. Every move the human made was calculated to end the fight quickly. They clashed again in the center of the corridor. Zixathara's blade met Lisa's plasma cutter in a shower of sparks. The weapons locked together as both fighters struggled for advantage. The assassin's superior strength began to tell, slowly forcing Lisa backward, but the human had tricks that no alien opponent had ever used. She shifted her weight suddenly and threw her whole body into a spinning heel kick. Her boot connected with Zixathara's knee joint, bending it in a direction it was never meant to go. The assassin screamed and stumbled. Lisa pressed forward, but Zixathara triggered her micro-grenade in desperation. The explosion filled the corridor, with smoke and debris temporarily blinding both fighters. When the smoke cleared, they stood on opposite sides of a crater in the deck plating. Both were injured and breathing hard. Zixathara's leg leaked green blood where the joint had been damaged. Lisa's left arm hung useless from the neural disruptor hit. "Why are you trying to kill me?" Lisa demanded. "I'm nobody special. Just an engineer trying to raise my son." Zixathara laughed bitterly. "You're a target. That's all I need to know." They circled each other again, both looking for the final opening that would end the fight. Zixthara's training told her to retreat and plan a better attack, but professional pride demanded she finish this human personally. Lisa seemed to read her thoughts. "You've made this personal now. Before you were just another problem to solve. Now you've threatened my son." The human's voice carried a quality that Zixthara had never heard before. It was cold and implacable, like the sound of stellar ice cracking in deep space. This wasn't the desperation of someone fighting for their life. This was the promise of someone willing to die to protect what mattered most. They charged each other simultaneously. Zixthara's blade swept in from the left, while Lisa's plasma cutter came from the right. Both weapons found their targets. The molecular blade sliced across Lisa's ribs, opening a wound that bled freely. But the plasma cutter seared through Zixthara's primary arm, severing it completely. The assassin shrieked and fell backward, green blood spraying from the cauterized stump. Lisa advanced despite her injuries. She had lost a lot of blood and moved unsteadily, but her eyes burned with determined fire. The plasma cutter hummed ominously as she raised it for a killing blow. "Wait!" Zixthara gasped. "I surrender. You've won." "You tried to kill me," Lisa replied. "You threatened my son's mother. That's not something I forgive." But before she could strike, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the corridor in red warning illumination. Lisa hesitated, distracted by the new threat. Zixthara used the distraction to trigger a smoke pellet and crawl into the maintenance ducts. She escaped through passages too small for the human to follow, leaving only blood trails and the promise of future revenge. Lisa stood alone in the damaged corridor, bleeding and exhausted. She had survived an encounter with the galaxy's most feared assassin, but she knew the threat wasn't over. Whoever wanted her dead would send others. More importantly, she now realized that her husband's death might not have been an accident. Kevin had been investigating something dangerous before he died. Something worth killing for. She stumbled toward the education center, driven by the need to hold her son safely. Danny was waiting for her as always, full of questions about her day. Lisa hugged him tightly, knowing that their quiet life on Kepler Station 7 was about to end. Security forces found the damaged corridor 20 minutes later. The evidence suggested a fight between unknown parties, but no bodies were recovered. Commander Sullivan questioned Lisa extensively, but she claimed to know nothing about the incident. In her quarters that night, Zixthara bandaged her severed arm and planned her revenge. No human had ever wounded her so severely. No target had ever escaped her with so much damage inflicted. Lisa Martinez would die for this humiliation, but first, the assassin would need time to heal and prepare. The human had proven far more dangerous than expected. Next time, Zixthara would be ready for a real fight. Lisa sat in her apartment watching Danny sleep peacefully. She had cleaned and bandaged her wounds, but the pain reminded her that everything had changed. Someone wanted her dead badly enough to hire a professional killer. She couldn't rely on station security to protect them. Tomorrow, she would begin her own investigation. If someone thought they could threaten her son by killing his mother, they had seriously underestimated what a human mother would do to protect her child. Zixthara moved through the maintenance tunnels before dawn. Her molecular destabilizer hummed quietly as it altered the safety protocols on Atmospheric Processor Unit 7. The changes were microscopic, invisible to normal scans, but deadly effective. When Lisa Martinez began her routine maintenance, the unit would overload and explode. The assassin retreated to her observation post and waited. At exactly 0700 hours, Lisa arrived for her shift. She collected her tools and headed toward Section C. Everything proceeded according to Zixathara's plan. Lisa approached Processor Unit 7 with her usual confident stride. She activated the maintenance console and began running standard diagnostics. The readings appeared normal to any casual observer. Zixathara smiled, knowing that in moments the human would make a simple adjustment that would trigger the overload. But Lisa stopped. She stared at the diagnostic display with a puzzled expression. Her finger hovered over the controls but didn't touch them. Instead, she pulled out a handheld scanner and ran it over the processor housing. The scanner beeped softly. Lisa's expression changed from puzzlement to alarm. She immediately shut down the processor and called for an emergency maintenance team. Within minutes, 3 other engineers arrived and began examining the unit under Lisa's direction. Zixathara watched in growing disbelief as the humans discovered her sabotage. They found the altered safety protocols and traced the molecular changes back to their source. Lisa pointed to specific components and explained how the modifications would have caused a fatal explosion. Her colleagues listened with obvious respect as she detailed the assassination attempt. The assassin's mandibles clicked in frustration. How had a simple human engineer detected sabotage that should have been invisible to their primitive technology? Lisa Martinez was supposed to be an easy target, not someone with the skills to uncover professional-grade assassination techniques. Station security arrived and cordoned off the area. Commander Jake Sullivan, the human in charge of station safety, questioned Lisa personally. She explained her findings with technical precision that surprised even Zixathara. This was not the behavior of a simple maintenance worker. The investigation would make another attempt in the same location impossible. Zixathara retreated to her quarters to plan a different approach. Perhaps the human had simply been lucky. Random chance sometimes interfered with even the most careful plans. She studied Lisa's medical records more carefully this time. The human had received extensive technical training during her military service. She had worked with explosive ordnance and dangerous equipment. That explained her ability to recognize the sabotage, but it also meant Zixathara had underestimated her target. Next approach would be more subtle. Lisa ate lunch in the workers' cafeteria every day at exactly 1200 hours. She always ordered the same meal from the automated food dispensers. A simple poison injection into her regular food choice would appear to be food contamination, a sadly common problem on space stations. Zixathara infiltrated the food service area during the night shift. Her molecular destabilizer could alter the chemical composition of stored food without leaving traces. She selected Lisa's preferred lunch option and introduced a slow-acting toxin that would take effect several hours after consumption. The next day, she watched Lisa enter the cafeteria as usual. The human woman went to the food dispensers and selected her normal meal. She carried the tray to her usual table near the observation windows. Zixathara counted the minutes until the poison would take effect, but Lisa took only a few bites before pushing the tray away. She examined the food carefully, then called over a maintenance colleague. They both looked at the meal and shook their heads. Lisa dumped the entire tray into the waste disposal and left the cafeteria hungry. Later investigation revealed that Lisa had detected the chemical alteration by taste alone. Human senses were supposedly inferior to most galactic species, yet somehow she had identified the poison before consuming enough to cause harm. Station medical confirmed that the food contained lethal toxins, leading to a complete shutdown of the cafeteria for safety inspections. Zixathara felt the first stirrings of genuine concern. Lisa Martinez was proving far more difficult to kill than her 94 previous targets. The human seemed to possess survival instincts that bordered on supernatural. Every trap the assassin set was somehow detected and avoided. She decided to learn more about her target's background. Military records were classified, but Zixathara had connections throughout the criminal underworld. What she discovered made her reconsider the entire contract. Lisa Martinez had not been an ordinary soldier. She had served with the Human Colonial Defense Forces Engineering Corps, but her specialty was explosive ordnance disposal. She had spent 6 years defusing bombs and identifying booby traps on hostile worlds. Her record showed dozens of successful missions in combat zones where other species feared to operate. More disturbing was her psychological profile. Human military evaluators had noted her exceptional paranoia and pattern recognition abilities. She could detect danger that others missed entirely. The report suggested that her survival instincts had been honed by years of working with devices designed to kill anyone who made the smallest mistake. This explained everything. Lisa wasn't just a maintenance engineer. She was a trained bomb disposal expert with combat experience. Her ability to detect the sabotage and poison came from years of staying alive in situations where the slightest error meant death. Zixathara realized she would need to abandon subtlety. Direct assassination was more dangerous, but might be the only option against such a paranoid target. She would need to study Lisa's routine more carefully and find a moment when the human was vulnerable. That evening, she followed Lisa and Danny home from the education center. They walked the same route they always took, through the residential districts and past the commercial areas. But now Zixathara noticed details she had missed before. Lisa constantly scanned their surroundings. Her eyes moved systematically, checking doorways and shadowed areas. She kept Danny on the inside of walkways, away from potential threats. When they passed groups of other beings, she positioned herself between them and her son. Her body language screamed of someone expecting attack at any moment. The human woman had been living like a soldier in enemy territory. Perhaps she had detected the earlier assassination attempts and realized someone was hunting her. That would explain her heightened paranoia and defensive behavior. At their apartment building, Lisa checked the security locks with professional thoroughness. She examined the door frame and window seals for signs of tampering. Inside their home, she moved through the rooms in a pattern that suggested she was clearing them for threats. Danny seemed unaware of his mother's precautions. He played with his toys and did homework while Lisa maintained her vigilant watch. But Zixathara noticed that the boy stayed close to his mother and never wandered far from her sight. The assassin spent the next 3 days mapping Lisa's complete routine. The human varied her timing and routes randomly, never following exactly the same pattern twice. She had clearly received counter-surveillance training and was implementing it effectively. Finding a vulnerability would require patience and careful observation. Zixathara had killed opponents with military training before, but never one who seemed so constantly aware of potential danger. Lisa Martinez was turning out to be the most challenging target of her career. On the 4th day of extended surveillance, Zixathara finally spotted an opportunity. Lisa's work schedule required her to travel through a maintenance corridor late in her shift. The corridor was poorly lit and rarely used by other station personnel. More importantly, it was the only route between her workstation and the education center where she collected Danny. The timing would be tight, but Zixathara could position herself in the corridor and eliminate Lisa during her transit. A quick strike with a molecular blade would appear to be a robbery gone wrong. Security would find nothing to connect the death to professional assassination. The plan required Zixthara to abandon her disguise and operate in her natural form, her Velthari. Physiology gave her advantages in speed and strength that no human could match. Lisa Martinez might be paranoid and well-trained, but she was still just a human facing a superior alien predator. Zixthara prepared her equipment and moved into position. Tomorrow, she would finish this contract and restore her reputation. The 95th kill would be memorable, but for all the right reasons. The message arrived at exactly midnight station time. Zixthara's 4 arms moved across the holographic display with deadly precision as she read the contract details. Target 95 would be different from the others. Not because the target was special, but because this one was human. The Velthari assassin had killed many species across the galaxy. She had ended the lives of powerful Craxian warlords who could crush steel with their bare hands. She had eliminated Etherian mind readers who could see thoughts before they formed. She had even assassinated a Gorvak royal whose skin was harder than most armor. But humans were new to her list. The hologram showed a simple image. Lisa Martinez, age 32, human female. Brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. Tired eyes that spoke of long work shifts. The kind of face that would disappear in any crowd. Nothing about her suggested danger or importance. Yet someone wanted her dead badly enough to pay Zixthara's astronomical fee. The contract came from the Crimson Syndicate, her most reliable client. They never asked questions and always paid on time. The instructions were simple as always. Make it look like an accident. No witnesses, no evidence. The target worked as a maintenance engineer on Kepler Station 7, a mid-sized trading post in the Outer Rim territories. Zixthara's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among her kind. Humans were supposed to be soft, weak. Their bodies broke easily and their minds cracked under pressure. They had only joined galactic society 50 years ago, and most species still saw them as primitive children, playing with technology they barely understood. She packed her equipment carefully. The molecular destabilizer that could make any accident looked completely natural. The neural scanner that would map the target's daily routine. The shape-shifting armor that let her appear as almost any species. Everything she needed to add another name to her perfect record. The journey to Kepler Station 7 took 3 days. Zixthara spent the time studying everything she could find about humans and her specific target. Lisa Martinez had been born on Earth's moon colony. She had joined something called the Human Colonial Defense Force at age 18. Military service, but humans were notoriously bad at warfare according to galactic intelligence reports. After 6 years, she had left the military and taken civilian jobs on various stations. 2 years ago, Lisa's husband Kevin had died in a mining accident on Titan IV. She had moved to Kepler Station 7 with her young son and taken a job fixing environmental systems. Single mother struggling to make ends meet, no apparent political connections or dangerous knowledge. The perfect target for what should be Zixthara's easiest kill yet. The assassin arrived at Kepler Station 7, disguised as a Merchant Guild inspector. Her shape-shifting armor made her appear as a tall, thin Valorian, with pale blue skin and silver eyes. The station's security barely glanced at her forged credentials. Humans ran most Outer Rim stations, and their security was famously lax. Kepler Station 7 was larger than the intelligence reports suggested. Nearly 200,000 beings lived and worked in its rotating sections. The central hub buzzed with activity as ships arrived and departed. Cargo haulers, passenger transports, and military vessels moved through the docking bays in organized chaos. Zixathara found a room in the civilian quarter and began her surveillance. She located Lisa Martinez within hours. The human woman worked in Section C, maintaining the atmospheric processors that kept the station's air clean and breathable. She worked alone most of the time, perfect for an accident. The first day of observation revealed a simple routine. Lisa arrived at work each morning at 0700 hours. She spent her shift crawling through maintenance tunnels, checking systems, replacing worn parts. She took lunch alone in the workers' cafeteria. She left work at 1500 hours and walked to the education center to collect her son. Danny Martinez was 8 years old with his mother's brown hair and curious dark eyes. He chattered constantly as they walked home, asking questions about everything he saw. Lisa answered patiently, even when she looked exhausted. They stopped at the market for food, then went to their small apartment in Residential Block 7. Zixathara watched them through her scanner as they ate dinner. Together, the boy did homework while Lisa cleaned their tiny living space. She helped him with math problems that seemed too advanced for such a young human. They read stories together before the child went to sleep. Then Lisa sat alone, looking at pictures. On a small device, photos of her dead husband, most likely. The routine never changed. Work, collect child, home, repeat. Lisa Martinez lived a life so ordinary that it hurt to observe. No friends visited their apartment. She didn't go to entertainment centers or social gatherings. Her whole existence revolved around work and caring for her son. On the third day, Zixathara decided to move closer. She took a job as a temporary maintenance coordinator, which gave her access to the same sections where Lisa worked. She wanted to study her target's work habits before planning the accident. Lisa Martinez was better at her job than expected. She moved through the cramped maintenance spaces with easy confidence. Her hands worked quickly and efficiently, diagnosing problems that would puzzle other engineers. She seemed to understand the station's systems on an instinctive level. More interesting was how other workers reacted to her. They came to Lisa with their difficult problems. They asked her opinion on repairs and modifications. For someone who had only worked on the station for 2 years, she had earned unusual respect from her colleagues. Zixathara watched Lisa crawl into a damaged air recycling unit that afternoon. The human woman's small size let her reach spaces that larger species couldn't access. She worked for 2 hours in the narrow passage, emerging covered in grease but smiling with satisfaction. The unit hummed to life, processing air more efficiently than it had in months. That evening, Zixathara followed Lisa and Danny to the education center for some kind of parent meeting. She listened from across the room as Lisa talked with her son's teacher. The human woman asked detailed questions about Danny's progress. She volunteered to help with a science project involving atmospheric systems. Even here, her technical knowledge impressed people. Walking home, Danny asked his mother about her work. Lisa explained how atmospheric processors worked in simple terms that made the complex technology sound like magic. The boy listened with wide eyes, clearly fascinated by his mother's knowledge. Back in her room that night, Zixathara planned the kill. Lisa's next shift would involve routine maintenance on a primary atmospheric processor. A small adjustment to the safety systems would cause a catastrophic failure. The explosion would look like equipment malfunction. Lisa Martinez would be vaporized instantly, just another industrial accident on a dangerous space station. The assassin checked her equipment one final time. Tomorrow, her perfect record would reach 95 kills. Then she could retire to a comfortable life in the outer territories, wealthy beyond measure. She never suspected that targeting a human mother would be the decision that ended her legendary career.